Hey guys, StarCraft here, and okay, I admit I kind of fudged with the poll to make sure Tom King finally won, but hey, you guys still voted on it, so hey, what you get is what you're gonna get still. And those of you who wanted Gale, another time perhaps. But today we are going to be talking about was Tom King, one of the newest writers at DC for a couple of years now, and he's becoming one of their bigger names. So why not talk about him? Well, I'll tell you why I want to talk about him. Because I've seen so many people give him a load of shit. And he'd act like, oh, he does this and that, oh, da 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 da. Oh, he's little Tom because of low testosterone, yada yada yada. Guys, really? I know I'm probably gonna get flack for this one, but these creative spotlights are all gonna be about the positives. In this case, I'm gonna be talking in defense of a lot of it because I am so sick and tired of people saying, "Oh, Darkseid was eating from a vegetable platter. That makes it a horrible thing." No, no, no. Yep, class is coming off for this one. So let's start first with his one and only Marvel work. The work that kind of really got it started was Vision. This I only just got recently, and I've read through it all, and it's an interesting story. And as you probably noticed on my thumbnail, I call Tom King the king of deconstruction. And okay, maybe a bit of hyperbole there, but he is very good at deconstructing stuff. And in this case, he completely constructs the vision and the type of story. Because it basically takes the notion of the Vision's always wanted a family. Always has. Why don't we give him one? Let's give him a wife whose brain patterns are based off of Wanda's, and give him 2 kids. Although in this case, instead of being twin sons like he originally had, it's a son and a daughter, and even have a dog. And basically shows what would happen. And yeah, it doesn't go well. By the end of it, things just go right down to hell. And without getting too much spoilers, it's really good. You guys should see it. It's still just leads right into so much stuff that happens, and by the end it's just Vision and his daughter. That's it. Now this particular volume I have right here includes all the director's cuts, so it gives a lot of the insights to what Tom King had in mind. And yeah, you can definitely tell that he does have a vision, no pun intended, for what he has in mind. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. There's a reason why it is so critically acclaimed. There's still action in it, so it's not all like, just talky. So yeah, let's get on now to the real meat and potatoes, his DC work. Starting with the Teen Titans annual he did with Will Pfeiffer, and so I think this was possibly his first work, and he helped bring back Superboy after he went missing for a while, and basically, Superboy shows up, as the cover says, he returns with blood on his hands, and basically it deals with him arriving and being all violent, and they're trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And basically, yeah, it's a Tom King plotted this while he and Pfeiffer then scripted it. It's an interesting tale, kind of irrelevant now since most of that stuff is gone, but it's still pretty fun nonetheless. Now, the next one, I don't have all the issues. I plan on getting the omnibus that collects everything from this. But after Forever Evil, Dick Grayson was believed to be dead. And most people thought he died thanks to Lex Luthor, and his public identity was outed already. So, might as well keep him dead. So, enter Tom King and Tim Seeley as they decide to take him and make him into Grayson, the Super Spy. And this, you would think, would be bad. But a lot of you, I still remember complaining the hell out of this. But once it started up, people realized this is good. Now, I ended up dropping this mostly due to monetary values, nothing more. But yeah, you are reintroduced to Helena Bertolini, who was believed to have not existed during the World's Finest books, where the Earth 2 version of Helena had claimed to have taken her place. And you have things like that where he's basically trying to interact and help work with and bring down the organization of Spiral. And he's working with Midnighter. He's working with Helena to try and bring him down. And yeah, it's there's a reason why this ended up also being so much a big hit. There's still plenty of action, plenty of insight. You could definitely tell that that King was bringing from his CIA days into all of this. Sometimes I don't get why people complain about King saying, oh, he's all this and that, when this proves, unless you think it's old Tim Seeley who did all the good stuff, and that King did all the boring stuff. Yeah, come on, guys, stop making up reasons to hate the guy. Unless you think that, then yeah, it's just really good stuff, and even led into the Robin Wars, which basically reunited so many of the Robins back together to deal with the Court of Owls. It's not that good of a crossover, mostly because it puts too much emphasis on the Duke Thomas, We Are Robin stuff. But for what it was, it was just a nice little story that kind of pushed. By the end of it all, it dealt stuff with Damian. It started leading up towards the end of We Are Robins, and it pushed the next step for Dick Grayson, where because he was and as Scott Snyder had once set up, Dick Grayson was tapped to be part of the Owls. They decided finally, let's have it be the court decides they want to force Dick Grayson's hand, and this would eventually lead into the Nightwing stuff. And this actually led into near the end of or towards the end, I think, of Grayson. I think it's been a while, but again, from what I have of Grayson, I stopped after issue 8, only getting the Futures End and Robin War tie-ins, but from all that I've read and everything I've heard, again, it's good writing. King really gets characters down, and okay, this is not a case of him being deconstruction, but it's a very good spy epic still, nonetheless. Next is, that's a little bit out of order, is him working on the Darkseid War Green Lantern one-shot. Now, this one I will actually show off quite a bit. And this one is basically a case where Hal is focusing, it's all about after Darkseid was killed during that war by the Anti-Monitor. It was then basically led into all of this power stuff going crazy, and eventually Hal becomes the God of Light. And during all this, we're having flashbacks to Hal in a church as a boy. I believe someone had died. It's been a while since I've already read through all this, but he just feels so upset. No, it's basically he feels like it's a god talking to him. And eventually he embraces everything, and he becomes, for a brief moment, a god. Now, because this never really got fully utilized in the actual Darkseid War event during Injustice League, by the time this is all done, he realizes, he has all that power, so he gets rid of it. The Mother Box becomes a ring, and so it's the Mother Ring, in other words. And he says, can you destroy yourself? Bring me home? Just say the word, Hal. And it's gone, and he's sent back home. So it's a nice little done one. It's still very insightful. It really gets into the mind of Hal Jordan. And yeah, after that then was his contribution to the Commandi Challenge, where he worked with Kevin Eastman and Freddie E. Williams, with Eastman doing the layouts. And as stated in the issue 10, back a little, talking about the creators of the next team talking about this issue, Eastman revealed that he had all these Kirby stuff go ready in big plan. He explains it all and say like, we're going to do this double base plan, very Kirby. We're going to do all this stuff. And Eastman's, a huge Kirby fan, and King's a huge Eastman fan. So yeah, by this point, oh, by the way, I have Eastman that signed this. By this, King tells him, it's in a room. A room, Eastman asked him. Does it have anything cool? It has a door. Lots of rooms have a door, Tom. Then he explains it all, how it's more of an interpersonal thing and all about how all this stuff happens. And then Eastman's like, okay, I can work with that. When you think about that, obviously Tom had to explain it to him in a way that convinced Eastman to go on. And Eastman, he can be picky sometimes. But this is a case where he's like, okay, you sold me. I can do that. I mean, I'm pretty sure if he didn't want to, he would have said, give me another artist or another writer to work on with. But we didn't. And he didn't. He stuck with Tom. Again, I could be reading too much into it, I openly admit. But, yeah. Then, because I know the next ones are going to be the big parts, during his little one-shot story in here, called Of Tomorrow, which is basically him and Clayman working on Superman. It is Superman 1000, that big milestone. Okay, I'll be honest, I'm still ticked off that Detective Comics 1000 is going to be a lot bigger. Although, to be fair, it probably is still like DC's first comic, Detective Comics. But in this case, it's all about Clark just remembering about his parents and everything. And yeah, it's a nice little short story, or personal story. Again, King actually gets a good insight on Superman as well. Then you have the Swamp Thing winter special. And this one is gorgeous. Where basically Swamp Thing is going around through a cold tundra with this young child. And he's trying to defend the kid. The kid is so, feeling like he's dying. Deals with a hunter and all that. But then but then he realizes, and Swamp Thing realizes, this boy is what's causing all this. And this boy's just being like, no, you can't do this to me. No, I want to live. And basically he points out, you're the monster. And he's like, I don't know how long I've been here without the green. Years. And and it even says, if it's been years, you should be dead. And basically, this boy is just breaking down like, no, please no. And what does he do? He hugs the boy and then impales him with obviously his body. And basically says, we're monsters. And then it ends with basically he reforms and goes back to the swamp. It's a nice done one. And again, Tom King kind of gets into the mindset of Swamp Thing in a way that few do. And it's gut-wrenching. It's a heart-wrencher. And again, it's a good story. I mean, yeah, again, he's walking around. There's some action where he's fighting off. Again, people keep on saying, oh, he's all this low testosterone. There's plenty of testosterone in that. Then, one of my all-time favorite that he's done, Batman Elmer Fudd. You would not think this would work, but it works. You have a humanoid version of Bugs Bunny explaining to Elmer Fudd, who came to him basically saying, "You killed my girl." He later said that this little silver thing cloud, nice. And basically, Bugs is like, "What if I told you that it wasn't me, Doc?" But first of all, before that, I do love one point where, hold on. Oh, where is it? Oh, jeez. Didn't expect to see here. Didn't expect to be here. Think I took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. You seem to take a lot of wrong turns at Albuquerque. Bud, you ever been to Albuquerque? Nope. Yeah, me neither. But basically, when he says like, I pulled the trigger. Yeah, and I pulled the trigger on her. Fine, but somebody paid me to pull the trigger. And if I get you that name, I don't know, maybe that's worth my life. What's the name? Is it a trade? What's the name? Bruce Wade. And basically, and Elmer goes after Bud and then Bruce, and all this shows that he was a hunter. It makes it very serious, actually. You're just like, what? And then he poses, and he takes over the guise of a limo driver, goes over, then tells, he goes up to the front door, tells Alfred that, my employer had forgotten their cell phone, and could you let me in? Otherwise, I won't get a tip. And then once he's allowed in, walks right up to Bruce and shoots him. Of course, being Batman, it's he's wearing a bulletproof vest. Then it leads to a great action sequence, and a great action sequence here between the two of them. And I even love a point where, hold on. They're trying to stare each other down. Batman gives his grimace, and then Elmer gives his own grimace, and Batman's like, ooh. And basically, when Elmer says it was Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne had killed his little St. Cloud, of course, Batman being Bruce is like, what did you say? So they go back to the bar where all the other humanoid versions of the Looney Tunes are at. They go in for a fight. They take down everyone there to get the bugs. And then when they ask him, why'd you do it? Then you find out Silver is still alive. Hi, boy, and hi, boys. Very femme fatale-like. And she basically explains that she will love Bruce, but Bruce lived a dangerous life. So she found Elmer. Found out he lived a dangerous life. So she figured if I'm going to leave, why don't we have these two find each other and see if they can be miserable together. So she leaves. The three bugs, Elmer and Bruce, all tell Porky, give him some carrot juice. He does. About finishes about him and says, that's all, folks. And even Tom King did the little Bat Season story at the end, and it's just as hilarious. Basically, poor Bruce going through the entire duck season, rabbit season. And at the very end, I just love it how he calls in all the Robins, even Nightwing. Then they change it to Robin season. Robin season? Robin season. Lordy. That is a great story. It is just so well done. Then, sorry about that, got a phone call, but then after that, because this one's going to take a bit, and the next one's going to take the longest for obvious reasons, let's talk about his Mr. Miracle 12 issues. And this is such a mind trip. I really dug all this because you don't know what's going on, what way is up, things like that. You just wonder, like, is this all real? Is this in their head? Why is Granny Goodness acting so sweet and nice? And then you all of a sudden then just have Big Barda kill her and all that. Why is Light Ray being so vicious alongside with Orion, who's already, okay, he's always been vicious, yes, but you have things like that. You then have basically a little trial session going on with Orion, and that's when they first had the little platter there that comes in later. And basically there's a joke, and at first it seems like it's a joke, like we've got a veggie tray for food, for sustenance. And then as the trial goes on, eventually it leads to him, Scott just losing it. And then it leads to Orion eating from the veggie tray before passing sentence. And it feels more like a case of, like, he's like, good Lord, that just happened. And he's just, like, trying to do something to clear his mind. So, of course, he just takes a bite to eat before he then decides, you're guilty. Then, again, throughout all this, they're going through all this intense stuff. There's plenty of action when it happens. A lot of it's very slow, meticulous. You get a very Miracle Man style, which is ironic, of course, birthing sequence and everything. And then you have all the stuff with, then eventually after Orion's killed, you have Scott being the boss, the ruler. And, there's more action in this one. Eventually it gets to the point where they're told, Darkseid wants your son. It what? And then, of course, you get the moment that people want to point out and just simply say, God does not understand the character, ruins the character. Hold on. And that's Darkseid eating from a veggie plate. Seriously, first of all, it's a case where he's more humoring Scott anyway, because Scott says, Never underestimate the power of a good veggie tray. And so, yeah, a whole bunch of pages of Darkseid eating from it. But it's also a show a bit like, yeah, okay, Darkseid's eating from it. So what? And again, it's like, so what? It is funny. It is weird. But does it make Darkseid any less intimidating? There's been a lot worse stuff that's made Darkseid look like a joke. And that's what you're going to complain about? Oh, he's eating from a veggie tray? You gotta try to find something to complain about. Sorry. But even by the last issue, when we find out this is all from the anti-life equation, that Scott has died and he's basically living in this perfect world and he embraces it. You're like, so he escaped death and yet he doesn't escape it. Wow. That explains so much about everything so shifting and we don't know what's going on. But the fact that it's his own continuity allows him to do that. So, yeah, I mean, Mr. Miracle deserves all the accolades it got. It was very well written. To those of you keep saying, oh, not much happened. Oh, it's stories that make you think. What's wrong with stories that make you think? Seriously, what is wrong with stories that make you think? What's wrong with a whole bunch of stories that are much smaller moments all in for, yes, it's for 12 issues. But so what? So what? It's very well done, well written. He really gets the characters. I still think his Darkseid, even the veggie tray aside, has been and was very menacing. I thought he was menacing. The part where he ripped out his own eye to give up the Omega beat power and everything. You're like, Jesus Christ. It is so like, what the fuck? And yet you have takes on the characters that are weird. But at the same time, once you realize it's about because of the anti-life equation, this is what Scott kind of almost maybe not desired, but pictured things could have been if he had his way. Hence why Caliban eventually comes off a bit more or less crazed unless he really gets set off, things like that. You know, yeah, and then now we get into the big one. His Batman run. Yeah, I love his Batman run. And sorry about that. That was just a message. I'll deal with that later. But anyway, it's in his Batman run after this Rebirth issue, because both he and Scott Snyder worked on it. It starts off with a bang when you bring in Gotham and Gotham Girl. They see their own Superman, Supergirl to Gotham, and yeah, it opens up with Batman ready to sacrifice himself and everything to stop a plane crashing, which something normally Superman does without a scratch, but showing that Batman could die doing that until a Superman-like figure comes in and saves him. And then it's basically all about these nice kids who are trying to do good. They want to do good. Until Gotham basically, through both Doctor Strange, with a bit of psychopirate, and just Gotham itself, corrupts them. And makes Gotham become very evil. And then you'll find out, oh, using their power so much could kill them. So this eventually leads to Gotham dying and his sister being a big mess. And yeah, it's like, what does Gotham City do to people? He reminds us about that. There was plenty of action in this first one as well. Again, I don't get why people complain so much. Why? He does some of these big stories. And now this next one, I'm just skipping past his, the Night of the Monster Man, because that was more Steve Orlando's story more than it was Tom King. Very well, very interesting story. It still ties into stuff that's later utilized in other things, but for what it is, meh. Yeah, it wasn't much of Tom King's doing. Then you have I Am Suicide. I thought this was interesting, very interesting, where basically he's forming his own Suicide Squad to go and get from Bane, the Psycho Pirate's mask so he can use it to fix Gotham Girl because of her mental state and everything. And you have him, but he brings on a interesting team. He brings in Catwoman, who are led to believe killed a lot of people. That's actually said for later, but they don't explain it during that. Oh, and he brings in the ventriloquist and Um, shit, I just forgot who else he brought in. I believe it was also Bronze Tiger, I believe. And, yeah, Bronze Tiger. And they basically bring him in. They go in, They actually do bring things down. They actually do stop Bane. Although we also didn't find out that turns out when Bruce was a kid, he tried to commit suicide. You know? Initially, I did not like that, but as I think about it, it's like, I get what Tom's trying to go. He's trying to show that there was a point where Bruce didn't think about becoming Batman. He thought, I want to be with my mom and dad. As a kid, being that traumatized, why wouldn't that cross his mind? But yeah, by the end of it, they defeat Bane. In one of the most clever uses of how they stop the Psycho Pirate, you have the ventriloquist. Who, yeah, the Psycho Pirate can control the ventriloquist, but then Scarface, or a little hand puppet, is like, hey, you can control and ding dong, but you can't control me. And basically, he takes control of the ventriloquist's body from Psycho Pirate, because he doesn't have a real face for him, Psycho Pirate to control, and they take him down. And Catwoman and Batman take down Bane, and basically, and also Bane tied in the stuff that dealt with Strange and the Monster Men. So I gotta point that out. But by this point, Bane was not using his venom at all. But yeah, it's basically it was a good, intense issue. There was plenty of suspense. I again liked it. Again, what are people's problems with King? I don't get it. It's like, okay, there was a lot of talking in this between the action, but again, it's introspective. He's deconstructing Batman slowly, and this, and let's start off a bit beforehand, would start the downfall, the big plot point that would continue on throughout the series. We just wouldn't know it yet. Then you have the Batman Annual, where we're introduced to a new version, again, of Ace the Bat Hound, who turns out in this case was one of Joker, like a killer dog that Joker had taken, who was an ace, and basically killed everyone else. Batman kept thinking like, nope, we can't do anything. But Alfred decides to adopt him and train him. And then, yeah, and basically, he does all the time, and Batman's just like, yeah, like, all of these years, basically says like the dog's broken. Joker broke him. And Batman said, like, I've tried to tell you, some wounds don't heal. But then we find out, oh, Alfred is like, sit, boy. Good boy. And basically shows that, yeah, he was actually able to do it. Kind of like how Alfred's always raising the Robins. He's even raising Ace while Batman's too busy. And at the very end, then you see that, Ace gives him some comfort, and I love at the end when he's all like, they give him the little mask, the famous mask. I was like, what do you say, boy? Do you want to be a bad hound? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Again, it's showing that Ace is warming up Bruce's heart. It's it's adorable. It's what you say to a dog. I'm a dog owner. I know that. But then I love how Bruce's like, was I a good boy? And why don't I get a gift? An overnight, sir. You have my apologies. I'm just teasing you, Alfred. And then it's at the end, world's greatest detective. Indeed. Meaning Ace wanted a gift and Bruce didn't even realize it. Again, it's good stuff. Then you have the two-part rooftops things, which I basically call Catwoman number 1 and 2 done right. Where basically, yeah, it ends up being the sex scene, but it's done more tastefully. It's done much better written. It's not just gratuitous for the sake of it. It kind of serves the purpose of how much they're in love. And we find out that Catwoman is just taking a fall for Holly, her old friend from Pre-New 52. In this case, she kind of went a little crazy and killed a bunch of people. And because it's her best friend, Selena takes the fall. Yeah. And Bruce lets her run off. But they also apprehend Holly. And yeah, she's put in jail for a while. Then we have Bane's big return. And this, I really liked it because Bane for the longest time, Bane's always been like, they've made him the dumb muscle too many times. In fact, Finch, who did the artwork on this, is guilty of that himself during his Batman The Dark Knight, where he's just like, I broke you, I'm not gonna break you, oh. I mean, Gail Simone's one of the few other people besides Chuck Dixon and some of the other Bat writers to actually remember, you're the brain up here. And Tom King reminds of that big time, bringing back some of his allies as well, Falcon and Zombie and all that. And Batman, they take out the Robins right away. A bit too easy, and they do it off panel, which made you think for a moment, oh, did he kill him? No, he just stopped him. And basically it leads down to Batman taking down Bane big time and locking him up. And you think, oh, that's the end of it? Not even close. But again, you think like, oh, it's just wrapping up that end of it all. Okay, Bane's defeated. And it felt like a bit too rushed, actually. At the end, it's just like it gets cut right off. And then, one moment. I'm back. Okay, I forgot these. The button. That comes right after Bane, which is kind of why it feels a little rushed. It feels like they had to stop it, and it just ends before it goes into the button, which is a crossover with The Flash, based off of a plot from Jeff Johns. I went over this whole thing in my series video long ago, but just a primer. Reverse Flash is freed in Flash. He comes to Batman, beats the crap out of him in this one, uses the button, goes, tries to find the source of everything, meets Manhattan, is sent back, killed. So Batman and Flash decide to follow the traces of the button, end up in what still remains of the Flashpoint universe, meets with Thomas Wayne from that universe, and then they basically make their way back after fighting a bunch of people, having a nice moment between Batman and his father. Very well done stuff right here. And basically, the Flashpoint universe is destroyed. Thomas is believed to be killed, and gone with it. And Flash and Batman kind of just resolve everything. They find out what happened in Reverse Flash. Come back. We have a brief moment with Jay Garrick returning for just a blink and you'll miss it. Okay, not literally that short, but something along those lines. And yeah, Bruce feels a bit haunted by those words from his father, basically telling him, you didn't stop being Batman. You don't need to be Batman. Stop doing it in our name. Find happiness. Which, in my series video that I pointed out, seems to indicate that he was hoping for the best. And Bruce, after a brief story that dealt with Poison and with Swamp Thing, and with the artwork by again his Mitch Gerads from Miracle Man, it then leads into wrapping up some of the stuff with from the Bane stuff, where we have that big moment in issue 24 with Bruce proposing to Selina, trying to find his happiness. And yeah, then it leads into the event known as the War of Jokes and Riddles, which basically takes place post 0 year. And hold on a second. Sorry about that again. Family stuff going on. Anyway, what was I? Oh yeah, War of Jokes and Riddles, where basically showed Riddler and Joker going to war. After Batman Year None, Joker doesn't find anything to be laughing about. And when you really think about it, a Joker doesn't find anything funny. It's more dangerous because he's more focusing on trying to find ways to make himself laugh, whatever it takes, and he can't. And Riddler, being Riddler, decides to take advantage of it. But the funny thing is, people that complain about is that, oh, most of these wars are off screen and we just focus on a little point. If this is going to be a big war like they make it out to be, we should know all this stuff. Guys, it's Bruce recanting all this to Selina. He's not going to go over every minute detail when he's talking about this, when he's trying to make a clear decision to her about what's going to happen, or what kind of life she's getting into and all that. And yeah, and now granted, the ending point of the story, it's a little bit off. Not the proposal, but the whole reason that how, because of everything that happened, how Batman was ready to kill Riddler until Joker stopped him, and that got Joker laughing again. I get it. Is that worthy Bruce being all like, Selina, let me tell you all this story because of all this stuff, broody. Not really. But for the sake of the story itself, it's a good ending point of the war. Joker's laughing. Riddler almost broke Batman, which, again, this is his early days. It makes sense that he almost got broken. This was later Batman. Yeah, no. But this was still, after everything happened in the war, again, more implied stuff. I get it. But for what it is, and given the amount of issues he had to work with, which was like about 8 issues, plus a few interludes to give Mikhail Janin, the artist, a bit of break now and then, it's good, if you ask me. And again, it could have been bigger. Yes, it very well could have been bigger. But really, for 8 issues or so, it's, and one of them being an extra size issue, it's not that bad of a story, all things considered. Again, I get it. Some people are like, more action, not all this character stuff. And this is the point where he started getting a bit more character stuff. I think that's because they changed editors by this point. Because one of the editors left because he wanted David Finch to do the proposal sequence, and the editor wanted to get someone else. So maybe that helped out. Maybe that caused him to get a bit more freedom to do everything. But for what it was still a good story that, hey, what can I say? It was, it took 8 issues out of telling modern day Batman stories. I get it. And a lot of people wondering, like, wait, what's going on with the wedding? What's going on? Does everyone else know about Selina? Do they, don't they? But it was still, I enjoyed it thoroughly. Then you have the 3-issue Rules of Engagement, which basically involves trying to deal with finding Holly because she was taken away by the League of Assassins with Talia. Have also Bruce try to deal with Talia, and have Selina, duel with her. And yeah, okay, you could tell that Tom King loves Selina to the point where she's only used a handful of sword once or twice, and yet she beats a master assassin. Okay, yeah, that was pushing it. Did it fully break everything, make me like write everything off, like, oh, ruin forever? No, because yeah, it was still telling an interesting story. Bit of an ass pull at the end, I perfectly and honestly admit, but other than that, it was still serviceable. Not the greatest of the arcs, but it was still a good arc. Then you have the Batman Annual number 2, which deals with, we later made very clear, a first present day stuff with Bruce and Selina, and I love how the two have constantly been arguing. How did they meet? Did they meet on a boat, like in the pre-crisis origins, or did they meet in the street, like the Batman Year One origins? And they keep arguing, like, it was a boat, it was a boat, it was the streets, it was a boat, it was the streets. And eventually deals with them just doing a bunch of chases and everything. And then we jump to the future where Bruce is dying. Yeah, he's dying, and so he's going to have to learn to make do without him. And yeah, he's just dying of natural causes. No Great War, he's retired, they have a daughter who's doing everything, and yeah. Tom King would make it clear this was on another Earth altogether, and that aside, it was still a good story. Then you have the 2-part, the double date issue with Superman and Lois, and Superman and Selina with Lois and Clark. And if you're gonna have, and when you're gonna lead into the whole thinking that Superman and Batman and Catwoman are gonna get married, why wouldn't you have a chance to have them interact with Superman and Lois? It just makes sense, if you ask me. And I love the interactions with Selina and Lois. It's cute. And hold on. It was hold on a second. They started like goofs at all. And then you have this point here with Batman eating ice cream. Again, they're at a carnival. They're supposed to be everyone's wearing costumes, so allows them to do that. It's just them being weird and taking advantage of the opportunity. In the very end, it's even called Super Friends. It's meant to be a bit more of a nod to those goofy days. What's wrong with that? It's meant to be a 2-issue character piece, and I think this is by the point when people are starting to feel like, oh, not enough action, too much inner perspectives. So, what? No, I mean it. So what? All right? Bruce has, and it's every now and again they have all these issues. And then you have this one, which basically introduces a kid who's trying to basically be the next Bruce Wayne. He is ready to, he even had his parents killed, but Tommy Elliott, like, but it's him as a kid still. And he's just gone a bit crazy as a butler and all that stuff. And at the end, he's locked up in Arkham because he is legitimately insane. And for what this was, it's a nice little crime little story. Then you have the 2-issue stuff with Batman and Wonder Woman trying to resolve any tensions there, and puts things a bit on the brink with Batman and Selina. Nothing happens though much with him and Wonder Woman. And at the end, it's just some nice. There's action in this one. Nice little, again, more character in its actions. I think, again, this is the point where Tom King started to deconstruct stuff. And again, I thought it was good. I just thought a lot of the action was very well. Then you have the 3-part story with Poison Ivy. This kind of derailed her a little bit. Having she was ready to take over the world, everything starts to go downhill more and more. And of course, who ends up saving the day but Selina? I get it, people. I really do. You feel like, okay, Selina and Bruce and Tom King and loves Selina, shows how great she is. But it's like, okay, but you also had Harley involved, and basically it's the Gotham City Sirens being the ones that stop it. And yeah, then of course there's Lisa Ivy being in oh shit. One moment again. I did it again. Completely forgot when the end was. Boy, how ill-prepared I am for this. She would be appearing in this one with Harley eventually, and where Ivy dies during this. Heroes in Crisis. We'll get to this at the very end. But yeah, and so it felt a bit off for Ivy, but again, this was probably one of the other weaker storylines, mostly because it didn't need to be 3 issues. Not really. But it was still a nice little, again, there's action. It was an adventure. So, yeah, did Batman save the day? No, it ended up being Selina. But, again, so what? Then we have a nice little another issue that dealt with just the stuff going on between Bruce and Selina as they're getting ready for their wedding. And, it's a bit like, not the bachelor night, but just them preparing. Then we get, okay, this one I am so torn on. The 3-issue, The Gift. Great artwork by Tony Daniel. Dealing with Booster Gold. Tom, if you ever do watch this, I would love it if you do, but I am not a fan of your Booster. I'm not a fan of it. I'm so used to Dan Jurgens' take on it, and again, how things played out here, it definitely felt like some of the Booster Gold issues, if a mistake happens, if someone else did this. The fact it was Booster who thought, oh, I'm going to give Bruce his parents back as a wedding gift. I still don't get why that made sense. For Booster, he's not an idiot. I know this is not the same Booster from pre-New 52. That Converge has made that very clear, but why is Booster doing this? Again, everything that led up to him fixing it, and even him being traumatized by the end, okay, I buy that. But this whole thing started from making a mistake that's very much not Booster. I'm not assuming Rip Hunter exists in this universe to chastise him, but even for Booster, this was stupid, and Booster's not usually this stupid, Tom. Alright, I'm willing to see what happens in Heroes in Crisis where there's some interesting stuff in there, but I'm sorry, that's one character I don't think you get very well. You probably want to write him, I get it, and it does lead back into this, but for what it was, I mean, that alternate universe was interesting, and again, the way things end at the end of this whole thing was again interesting, but not your strongest when it came to that. Again, the starting point is what hurt at everything. The way everything else, even the ending, was fine, but the starting point just tainted the whole thing. I'm sorry. They're not enough to make me just give everything off, but just that bit. Now, then you have the DC Nation story, where during all this, Joker's basically waiting for his invitation from Batman. And I found it was kind of cute how he's basically torturing this one guy. And then it goes back to the word and the War of Jokes and Riddles, where he said, if I'm happy, I kill people, he says. back in War Joker and Real, he said, when I'm not happy, I kill people. Shows that either Joker's changed or whatnot, but it was still very interesting. I liked it, but before we get into issue 50, 48 and 49, let's talk about one of the big issues that I think really led into the fallout of issue 50. And these stories by Tim Seeley, very good issues, but it really overhyped everything. It got people thinking that, oh yeah, what is going to happen? It's going to happen. Why else would they do this? And everything in this one just felt pointless, really. It felt like they were just trying to overhype it all. Again, good stories. I liked a lot of them, the interactions, but it just felt like in the end, it was giving people false hype that... we'll get to that when we get to issue 50. But then in 48 and 49, we deal with the Joker, what he does, and he's basically taken over a church, ready to, like he has people, he's ready, threatening to kill himself. Basically like, oh, come here now, otherwise I'll kill myself. I will do it, And after he's killed a bunch of other people there. But you gotta remember this. This is a Batman, as shown in Devil's Advocate, who wouldn't even want the Joker to die if he can help it. So when you have this one bit where he basically tells him, like, come here, Batson, come pray with me. What is Batman to do? If Joker's really ready to pull the trigger himself, he's not going to beat the shit out of him. If Joker's like, I'll do it, I'll shoot myself, Batman's not going to be like, go ahead, do it. Or he's not going to be like, try to stop him and run the risk of him killing himself. He's just going to be like, I'll get in close, maybe figure out a way to either talk him out of it or find an opening to do it. So obviously he was doing all this to find an opening. Probably didn't expect the bomb to go off. Then Joker would set up a bomb and knock him back. And then he's buried unconscious. Again, probably not something that Bruce was expecting. And you have Catwoman joining in, and yet she stops Joker by the end. Yes, but that's because Batman's out cold, all right? When else is that going to happen? What else are they to do about that? Again, the way the story's written, and if you really know you're Batman and you're not just expecting a big action fest, Batman would pull this type of thing. Joker, if he was playing okay, I'll shoot, and he's doing it like this, so Batman can't get a batarang to hit at, not without the risk of either getting Joker in the throat or whatever. He's doing it like this. Batman's got to get in close. All right, Joker knows this. He would know this. What else is Batman to do? All honesty, the way the scene is written, it makes sense. But of course, there's going to be so many people out there who's going to be like, not what I want to see. It's not meant to be what you want to see. Which then leads into the wedding issue. Nothing but splash pages leading up to a wedding that doesn't happen. I get it. People wanted this to happen, and I'm one of those who says, well, first I'm going to say I like how there's actually a nod. Anyway, they go back to Porky's from the Batman Elmer Fudd. Cute. But I'll just say this, is that if they didn't overhype it, I blame DC's marketing. DC's marketing has been notorious for a lot of stories that were good without the hype, being made, looked at, down upon. And they're the ones who hyped it up. Tom King did not. If you look at everything Tom King said, he did not say the wedding was guaranteed. He teased that, oh yeah, I got the last pages and everything, but he never said the wedding was going to happen. He didn't say it was going to go to I Do's. That was DC's marketing. Blame them for that, not Tom. And the story, and again, yes, you got overhyped, and I get it. So many of you people feel upset. I do want to see Bruce and Selina together. I know some people who don't, but I did. But then when you reveal that this was all Bane's master plan, yeah, that should allow you to make a lot more sense later on, especially after this point. This is when things really start to take off. Then, and you just start to be like, okay, what happens next? And that's what I wanted to do. I was like, because when I heard about the Spartans, I'm like, oh, great. But once I saw the ending, I'm like, oh, is this part of Bane's plan? He manipulated Holly to manipulate Selina? Oh, shit. So then I realized, okay, Tom has a big plan, and we know he does. He's been very open. He has an over 100 issue run. Then we get the 3-issue court dramas. I like those episodes of TV shows or even comics or movies where it's all set in a jury room. I like those. What's wrong with those? And Batman basically, in his anger after the stuff with Selina, he takes out all of his stuff on Freeze, and then he realizes, wait, no, I wasn't thinking straight. But unfortunately, especially when he finds out with the jury, they think Batman put him away, means he must be guilty of all the charges. So Bruce has to, as Bruce Wayne, convincing people that, that Freeze didn't do it. One moment again. Sorry about that again. One other interruption, but as I was saying that, he realized he made a mistake, but then people are just like, again, Batman put him away, so how is he going to convince them? How is he going to fix his mistake? He has to get in there and convince the jury. Batman can't just bring in evidence by this point, and the evidence would be inadmissible. So, again, that's the whole point of it. I mean, was it an issue too long? Maybe, but for what it was still good, and it shows the difference, the idea that, how many times do people sometimes put people away because Batman took them down, and they don't think much about it? So, again, I liked it because I like those kind of episodes. But after that, you then have the one issue that basically was a love letter to the Nightwing stuff, which makes sense given what happened in these 3 issues with KG Beast, where basically, which I should point out, Jim Starlin created. But, during this one is when Nightwing gets shot, and we eventually into Rick Grayson. Yeah. Not Tom King's fault. He was probably told to do this moment and everything, but this starts putting Batman more in the deep end as he then, in a almost like a retelling of the Knights of the Beast or whatever was KG Beast, where Batman goes after him, eventually finds him, and it seems like he's leaving him for dead. We all know he's not. Come on, people. Did you really think he was going to leave him for dead? But it was still a good story. Good, intense, as he's trying to find him. And I like how KGB's was handling this. He's more introspective and all that, thinking about everything. He's more inner thoughts. Yeah. And then you have this story, which I mostly like it for the Tom King story at the beginning, where Superman gives him basically silver kryptonite, I believe, which can give Batman superpowers. How much you want to bet that's going to be used in later on, huh? And he's basically singing back to that night with the Joker in the church for what he could have done if he had those powers. Of course, then he's realizing, he wonders, am I enough? So Batman's starting to doubt himself. He's starting to break down. Then we have what I love big time is these 3 issues with the Penguin. One, I love how Tom King handled the Penguin, finally giving a Penguin who's being like, Bane took a love from me. One of the women that Freeze killed. Again, it's connecting. And then he decides like, I'll show him. I'll tell Batman about him. I'll even prove my point. I was told to kill off and Bruce Wayne's butler. I ain't gonna do it. I'm gonna tell Batman I wasn't gonna do it. Have my men kill him. They were gonna do it, kill themselves. And then reveal spill the beans, everything about Bane to Batman. And what does Batman do? He's finding out that he knows who's behind it all. He snaps and goes to Bane, beats the shit out of him, and Bane's acting like a complete like, no, please, no, like he's broken. And we have Gordon saying, I've been watching. Everyone's been watching. He has been a catatonic mess. You don't know what you're talking about. And Batman says like, no, I know what happened. And basically, at the end of it all, you see Bane smiling. And then at the very end of this issue, we then see that Cobblepot's been taken away. And we find out why. It was because of also saw all this Batman's just beating the shit out of people, trying to find out more about Bane, even if no one answers. It soon causes Gordon to realize he's losing it. So what does Gordon do? And basically, Bane is breaking the Batman because Bane, he's faking it. But he's putting on such a good act. has everything fluid and planned out. You realize this was all Bane's master plan. Everything. It puts everything into context that's happened since issue 50, even beforehand. You realize all this, it's Tom King doing his own take on Nightfall, but doing it even more, even better, if you ask me. Yeah, better. I said it. And Bane, he's doing, and this is, again, one of the best Bane's been handled without having much of Bane in it. Bane is actually doing so much more of breaking the Batman mentally, because Bane got lucky the first time. Batman was already suffering from insomnia. He was weak. He was sick. You know, like that. So, and it's shown he can't beat Batman when he's back in his prime. So what does he have to do? He has to break him in every other way first. And then at the very end, Cobblepot's been taken away, and we find out Thomas Wayne is somehow back. Then we lead into the next 3 issues, half of the Nightmare arc, which basically involves different one-shots that are focusing on Batman as he's coming to term, basically, which we wouldn't find out until issue 63, that fear toxin is being used to basically cause him to hallucinate everything, and he's basically being broken down. Again, each of these are introspective, but again, it's like he's doing all this stuff. We even bring back to that one boy who thinks he's Bruce Wayne into this. Again, very interesting stuff here. And yeah, you're wondering what's going on next. Then, while he had Tom King has nothing to do with it, it does play off with one of his plot points. What I've here is 3 out of the 4 issues of the crossover with the Flash that deals with Gotham Girl, who last we've seen was working with Bane. We now know why. I'm still surprised Tom King let someone else use that plot point. She still has something important, we know that, but yeah, that's where we're at so far with Tom King's Batman. Then, of course, you have Heroes in Crisis. I should have mentioned that earlier. And this, okay, I'm hot and cold on it. I'm liking a lot of the interactions, but then there's other stuff I'm not liking, like the characters being killed off, the overdone of those testimonies, things like that. But at the same time, this is one of those, more than other recent story events, besides Doomsday Clock, that I'm willing to have to wait to the end and decide from there. Because it still keeps me going. It's not like Secret Empire where it's just, oh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? And it just Deus Ex Machina to the end. This one at least feel like it's a build. And some of you might not like it. I completely understand that. But I do. Alright? Just like I like his Batman stuff lately. Because I feel it's interesting. I want to know what happens next each time. Am I constantly wanting things to be all actiony or expecting characters to act specific ways? Sometimes, yes, but other times when you look at the context of the scene, which I think a lot of people don't do anymore, I think so many people just want to look at what they want, and if they don't get it, it's what the writer wants. You got to think about what the writer wants. And is he cucking Batman? No. Okay, maybe once or twice, but for the most part, no. He's still the awesome Batman. He's just starting to, especially after issue 50, he's starting to fall apart. All right? That is a key part of this story. He's starting to fall apart. The only issue I will ever say about the cookingness of Batman, whatever, might be the rules of engagement art, because, I'm sorry, that did feel a little like a shoehorn. But otherwise, everything else about Tom King's writing, I've liked, because he really seems to understand characters. He gets into their minds, which kind of goes back to his CIA stuff, and he thinks out what makes them tick, what can break them. For the most part, he does very well. Again, Booster Gold notwithstanding, but most of the other characters, he really gets. Like, what goes through their mind, what would make a person do this, what could break a person. Why would Selina decide, do the things she does? Why would Batman do the things he does? I'm really enjoying it. That's why I really like Bane and Batman's and Tom King's stuff with Batman, why I'm still sticking through it. Why I didn't giving up after the wedding, because who knows how this thing's all going to end in the long run. And getting up to that point where we find out Bane was behind everything, but outside of what we found at the end of issue 50, makes it all worth it, because you're like, I'm glad I stuck it through, because now I know more than others are knowing. And what can I say? That's what Tom does. He just comes up with these good ideas I might have come up with if I ever had the ability to do it. And he's been given such carte blanche that he's able to do a few or been able to do. And that's do something, a long form story. Now, it's probably going to end where it's probably going to, who knows how it's going to end. It might end anticlimactically, maybe. I don't know. If it does end with Selina saving the day at the very end, Batman does nothing, okay, then we'll have words. But I'm not one of those who think that's going to get there, because even, I think it'll be at the very least, the two will stop it together. All right? At that very least, I think that's what's going to happen. Maybe Gotham Girl might sacrifice herself at that point. Who knows? But I'm still waiting to see how this all turns out, because Tom has earned that for me. And again, he's a good writer. He's a bit unorthodox with some stuff, but stop trying to find things to just complain about him just for the sake of complaining, or just because he's not on anyone's side or he's talking out against people. Stop it. All right? Is he a Chuck Dixon? No. Is he a Scott Snyder? A little bit, but not exactly. But no, he's Tom King. All right? And he's writing what he wants to see. If you don't like it, okay, that's fine. I get it. But at the same time, stop trying to find bullshit things to nitpick about and say, oh, because of that, he's ruined a character. Or because of that, oh, it's one of the worst things ever. Oh, like, if you find it's boring, okay, I can't do anything to help you. But I like these kind of stories. I like action pieces, but I also like character pieces. Why can't Batman ever have a bunch of character pieces? Why does it always have to be punching? That's one thing that always bothers me. People always want to be action all the time. It can't be action all the time. Now, I may accept all this because I'm still curious on where it's going. If all of these were constantly like rules of engagement or all that, yeah, I'd probably be a bit annoyed. But for me, it's not. For me, it's hitting all the right beats. And all of his other works have hit the right beats, if you ask me. So, that's what I had to say about Tom King. Next time, who knows? Looks like it might be, as it looks like right now, it might be Peter Tomasi we'd be doing. I might do a review. But I do have a special guest appearance at the end of after my title card moment. You might all be surprised about. Yep, I mean, someone who also has a lot to say good about Tom King, so take it away, girl. See ya.
Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdettes Newsstand, and I have a few things to say about Tom King. And I am, when it comes to Tom King and Scott Snyder, one of the biggest fans. They are definitely my top two. I absolutely love them. I think I fell in love with Tom King's writing when he was doing Grayson. And I've always been huge into the Bat family, and that gave Dick a different spin. It gave him, his secret agent persona, and I loved it. I absolutely think it did a great job. And then when he came on to Rebirth, I think he did a really good job with Batman. The War on Jokes and Riddles will always be one of my favorite arcs. I think it is absolutely amazing. And I know people another big thing was the Batman wedding. A lot of people were pretty upset about it, but I think it makes sense. I don't want to see Bruce and Selina together. I think that Bruce loves Batman more than he could ever love Selina, and I've said that 100 times. But if you think about it, it's true. Batman means way more to Bruce than Selina ever could. That's why that marriage will never, ever work out. But yeah, I definitely think Tom King is one of the best. And I think a lot of people go at him and say, he's low T and stuff. Maybe that's why I like him, because I'm female. I like the low T writing, whatever. I don't think he is. I think he does a good job with making Batman still, fucking tough as hell. So let me know what you guys think. Bye-bye.